The hallowed halls of Emmerdale. A tapestry woven with threads of love, betrayal, and the relentless march of fate. As a seasoned director, a weaver of narratives, I peer into the ether, past the fading embers of September 29th, and glimpse the tempest brewing on the horizon of September 30th, 2025. Prepare yourselves, for the village of Emmerdale is about to be rocked to its very foundations, and the echoes of these events will reverberate for seasons to come. Forget what you thought you knew, for the next installment is not merely a continuation, but an explosive escalation, a symphony of raw human emotion played out against the backdrop of seemingly ordinary lives. This is not just a soap opera, it is a visceral exploration of the human condition, where every smile hides a secret, every whispered promise carries the weight of a potential lie, and the tranquil facade of rural life is shattered by the thunderous roar of impending doom. The dawn of September 30th breaks not with the gentle caress of an English morning, but with a palpable tension that hangs heavy in the air, a premonition of the seismic shifts about to occur. Our story, as always, pivots around the unsuspecting, the vulnerable, and the tragically interconnected lives that form the heart of Emmerdale. The village itself, often a comforting character in its own right, now feels like a silent observer, its ancient stones whispering of the tragedies and triumphs it has witnessed. We open not with a bang, but with the quiet, unsettling hum of a phone vibrating on a bedside table. It belongs to April Windsor, whose innocence has been cruelly tarnished by the shadowy dealings of Ray. The text message, stark against the glowing screen, is from Ray himself, a serpent's hiss in the digital realm. It reads, simply, tomorrow. The usual drop. Higher stakes. Don't be late. The words are a cold blade against her already frayed nerves. Her heart, a frightened bird, thrashes against her ribs. The illusion of a quick escape from her debt, so foolishly embraced, now crumbles, revealing the treacherous quicksand beneath. She had believed, in her naivete, that her last job with Noah was the final act, a brutal severing of ties with the underworld. But Ray, a predator of the highest order, merely tightened his grip, pulling her deeper into the abyss. The stakes, he ominously declared, are higher. What fresh hell awaits her? The memory of Noah's terror, of his desperate attempt to shield her, flashes before her eyes, a burning indictment of her choices. She glances at the sleeping form of her mother, Rona, a silent prayer on her lips that her mother's blissful ignorance might endure, if only for another day. But the gnawing fear in April's gut tells her that the truth, like a relentless tide, is steadily rising. Meanwhile, in the Dingle household, a different kind of storm is brewing. Vinnie Dingle, his heart heavy with the weight of impending testimony, finds himself in a desperate struggle for composure. The upcoming trial of Graham Connolly, a name that drips venom in the Dingle annals, looms over him like a dark, inescapable cloud. The adoption of Thomas, a beacon of hope and a promise of a future, now feels fragile, threatened by the potential fallout of his court appearance. Mandy Dingle, ever the fiercely protective matriarch, observes her son with a hawk's keen eye. She sees the haunted look in his eyes, the subtle tremor in his hands, and a primal instinct to protect him flares within her. Vinnie, she begins, her voice softer than usual, a stark contrast to her usual boisterous demeanor. You're eating yourself alive, lad. You need to focus on Thomas. He's counting on you. Vinnie, however, is lost in the labyrinth of his own anxieties. How can I, Mum? How can I stand there and tell the truth, knowing it could ruin everything we're building with Thomas? What if they twist my words? What if Connolly's lawyers tear me apart? Thomas deserves a dad who isn't tainted by this darkness. His voice cracks with emotion, a rare display of vulnerability from the usually stoic Vinnie. Mandy, with a sudden, almost chilling intensity, grips his arm. Listen to me, Vinnie. You are doing this for Thomas. You are showing him that his dad is a man of honor, a man who stands up for what's right, no matter the cost. Connolly is scum. The world is a better place without him. Don't you dare let his evil overshadow the good you're doing. Her words, a rallying cry, cut through Vinnie's despair, but the seeds of doubt, once sown, are difficult to eradicate. The courtroom, for Vinnie, is not just a place of justice, it is a crucible where his future, and Thomas's, will be forged or fractured. Across the village, at the iconic Woolpack, the atmosphere is anything but celebratory. Victoria Sugden, her face a mask of barely suppressed fury, confronts Robert Sugden in her private corner. The revelation of his clandestine marriage to Kev, a man now revealed to be a dying gangster, has sent shockwaves through her already turbulent emotional landscape. Her earlier declaration to him, a chilling promise to expose his secret to Aaron if he didn't, hangs heavy in the air, a ticking time bomb. Robert, she whispers, her voice a low growl that belies the calm exterior she struggles to maintain. I need to know. What are your intentions? Is this about money? Is this about some twisted sense of loyalty? Because what you're doing, Marrying a dying man for his inheritance while supposedly in love with Erin is beyond reprehensible. It's a betrayal of the highest order. Her eyes, usually warm and empathetic, are now glacial, reflecting the depth of her anger. Robert, ever the master of deflection, attempts to downplay the severity of the situation. Vic, it's not that simple. You don't understand the complexities. Kev saved my life. Literally. He protected me in prison when no one else would. I owe him. And yes, there's money involved, but it's not the primary motivation. It's a way to secure a future, for all of us, without having to struggle. His words, however, ring hollow. The desperation in his voice, the subtle tremor in his hands, betrays a deeper, more sinister truth. Victoria scoffs, a bitter, disbelieving sound. Secure a future? By prostituting yourself to a dying gangster? And what about Erin? Does he deserve to be strung along, believing in a future with you while you play sugar baby to a man who, let's be honest, is probably riddled with the blood of his victims? You're playing a dangerous game, Robert. And if you think I'm going to stand by and watch you destroy everything, you're gravely mistaken. You have until the end of the day to tell him. Or I will. Her ultimatum hangs in the air, a gauntlet thrown down, setting the stage for an explosive confrontation that will undoubtedly rip through the fragile fabric of Robert and Erin's relationship. The true storm, however, begins to gather pace at Holdgate Farm, a place that has often been a sanctuary, but today becomes a potential scene of chilling discovery. Moira Dingle, still reeling from the emotional fallout of her recent altercation with Nate, finds herself grappling with a profound sense of unease. Her sharp instincts, honed by years of navigating the treacherous currents of farm life and human drama, tell her that something is amiss with Nate. His evasiveness, his sudden secrecy, the way he flinches when she asks about his day, all are red flags waving furiously in the wind. Later that morning, as she goes about her chores, she notices a small, almost imperceptible detail, a smear of mud on Nate's work boots that isn't from the farm's usual terrain. It's a different kind of mud, darker, richer, smelling faintly of damp earth and something else. Something chemical. Her mind, racing, begins to connect the dots. The strained conversation with Tracy, the vague excuses, the way he constantly checks his phone, it all points to a hidden life, a secret world he's been meticulously constructing. Driven by a gut feeling she cannot ignore, Moira decides to act. With a calculated boldness, she sets out to follow Nate. She watches from a distance as he slips out of the farm, his movements furtive, his eyes constantly scanning his surroundings. He drives his Land Rover along a secluded track, one that leads away from the familiar paths of Emmerdale, deeper into the untouched wilderness bordering the village. Moira, a ghost in her own vehicle, maintains a safe distance, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and determination. The silence of the chase is broken only by the crunch of gravel beneath her tires and the frantic beating of her own pulse. Nate eventually pulls off the track, parking his vehicle amidst a dense cluster of trees, almost completely hidden from view. Moira, with a practiced stealth born of years living on the land, positions her own car out of sight, then exits on foot, moving like a phantom through the undergrowth. The air grows colder, the trees thicker, and an unsettling quiet descends upon the forest. What Moira discovers next will not only shatter her perception of Nate but will unleash a terrifying chain of events that will engulf the entire village. Peeking through a screen of thick foliage, she sees Nate, not alone, but with two other men. They are not local farmers, nor are they familiar faces. Their demeanor is hard, their expressions guarded, and they exude an aura of dangerous professionalism. One of them, a man with a scarred face and cold, unblinking eyes, holds a map, meticulously tracing lines with a calloused finger. The other, younger, nervously clutches a duffel bag that seems to hum with an unspoken weight. Then, Moira sees it. Strewn around a makeshift camp, half hidden by tarpaulins and camouflaged netting, are various pieces of equipment. There are digging tools, coils of heavy-duty cable, and, most chillingly, an array of electronic devices that hum with a faint, almost imperceptible energy. But the true horror lies in what they are carefully excavating from the earth. Not ancient artifacts, but something far more insidious. As Nate gestures animatedly towards a newly unearthed section of the ground, Moira catches a glimpse of metallic gleam, not gold, but something else, something with a faint, almost invisible green sheen. It's not ore, not a natural deposit. It's refined. It's dangerous. Suddenly, the younger man, agitated, pulls out a small, metallic cylinder from the duffel bag. It gleams wickedly in the filtered sunlight. Moira's blood runs cold. She recognizes it. Not from news reports, but from a forgotten documentary, a long-buried memory of a chilling exposé. It's a component, a crucial piece, of an illegal, high-frequency energy converter, capable of disrupting communication networks for miles around. But why here? Why Emmerdale? Before Moira can fully process the horrifying implications, a guttural roar erupts from the dense woods behind her. A wild boar, startled by her presence, charges through the undergrowth, its tusks glinting ominously. Moira, reacting on pure instinct, stumbles backward, snapping a dry branch underfoot. The sharp crack echoes through the silent forest, a sound like a gunshot. All three men, Nate and his two shadowy companions, freeze, their heads whipping towards the sound. The scarred man, his face now a mask of pure menace, barks an order in a language Moira doesn't understand, but the intent is clear: they've been compromised. Nate, his eyes wide with a mixture of terror and resignation, looks directly towards Moira's hiding place. Their eyes lock. The shock on his face is a raw, agonizing wound. He knows. He knows she knows. The two mysterious men, moving with alarming speed and precision, fan out, their hands reaching for unseen weapons concealed beneath their jackets. Moira, her heart now a war drum in her chest, knows she has mere seconds to escape. But as she turns to flee, her foot catches on a gnarled root, sending her sprawling to the forest floor. A gasp escapes her lips, and the thud of her fall is deafening in the sudden, terrifying silence. The wild boar, still snorting menacingly, vanishes into the undergrowth, leaving Moira utterly exposed. The scarred man, a terrifyingly efficient predator, is the first to reach her. He grabs her by the arm, his grip like a steel vise, pulling her roughly to her feet. The younger man, meanwhile, is already dismantling the camp, his movements frantic, but practiced. Nate, however, remains frozen, a statue of horror, his face etched with a desperate plea for understanding, a silent apology Moira is too terrified to comprehend. "Who are you?" The scarred man snarls, his voice low and guttural, his accent thick and unfamiliar. "What have you seen?" He shoves her against a tree, the bark scraping against her back, a splintering pain mirroring the fracturing of her world. Moira, despite her terror, finds a flicker of her inherent Dingle defiance. "I'm Moira Dingle. And I've seen enough to know you're up to no good. What are you doing out here? What are those things?" She tries to twist free, but his grip is unyielding. The scarred man merely smiles, a chilling, humorless baring of teeth. "You should not have come here, Moira Dingle. Some secrets are best left buried." He pulls a length of thick rope from his pocket, and Moira's blood runs cold. The reality of her situation crashes over her with the force of a tidal wave. She isn't just a witness, she's a liability. At that moment, Nate finally snaps out of his stupor. "No. Don't hurt her," he shouts, stepping forward, a desperate plea in his voice. She's my mother." The scarred man pauses, his eyes narrowing, assessing Nate with a cold, calculating gaze. A flicker of surprise crosses his face, quickly replaced by a predatory gleam. "Your mother? And she knows what we are doing?" He looks from Nate to Moira, a cruel amusement playing on his lips. "This complicates things, young Nate. This complicates things very much indeed." The younger man, having finished packing, approaches, handing the scarred man a small, dark object. It's a tranquilizer dart gun, its tip glinting menacingly. Moira's eyes widen in horror. "We need to move her," the scarred man declares, his voice devoid of emotion. "And we need to teach her a lesson. One she will never forget. One that will ensure her silence, and yours, Nate. Forever." Nate, his face pale with dread, shakes his head vehemently. "No, please. Just let her go. I'll do whatever you want. I'll help you. Just don't hurt her." "You'll help us, all right," the scarred man replies, his voice dripping with sinister intent. "But first, you will watch. And you will understand the price of loyalty. And betrayal." Just as the scarred man raises the dart gun, a faint, almost imperceptible sound cuts through the air, the distant hum of a vehicle. It's not a car, but something heavier, something farm-related. Moira's heart leaps with a desperate, fleeting hope. The scarred man curses under his breath, his eyes darting towards the source of the sound. "We don't have time," he hisses. He makes a quick, decisive decision. Instead of tranquilizing Moira, he slams the butt of the dart gun against her temple with brutal force. A blinding white light explodes
behind Moira's eyes, and a searing pain lances through her head. Her knees buckle, and she crumples to the forest floor, darkness consuming her. Nate rushes to her side, his anguished cry ripping through the air. "Moira! Mom!" But the scarred man pulls him back, his grip iron hard. "She lives for now. But her silence is now your responsibility, Nate. If she speaks, if anyone comes looking, you will pay the ultimate price. Do you understand?" Nate, tears streaming down his face, can only nod, a raw, primal fear gripping him. He watches in helpless horror as the two men drag Moira's unconscious form deeper into the woods, vanishing like phantoms. The distant hum of the farm vehicle grows louder, closer. Nate is left alone, in the chilling silence of the forest, the weight of a terrifying secret pressing down on him, and the agonizing knowledge that his mother's life now hangs precariously in the balance, a hostage to his silence. This is not just a kidnapping, it is a meticulously planned operation, rooted in a sinister plot that extends far beyond the quiet confines of Emmerdale. The mysterious energy converters, the precise excavation, the professional demeanor of the unknown men all point to a grander, more terrifying objective. What are they truly doing in the woods? And what role has Nate unwittingly played in this unfolding nightmare? The implications are staggering, and the fate of Emmerdale, indeed, hangs precariously in the balance, teetering on the precipice of a revelation that could plunge the entire region into chaos. As the sun begins its slow descent, casting long, unsettling shadows across the village, a desperate search begins. Cain Dingle, his instincts screaming that something is terribly wrong, realizes Moira is missing. Her phone is found abandoned in the farmhouse, a chilling omen. He rallies the villagers, his voice a guttural roar of concern, his face a thundercloud of worry. Sam Dingle, ever loyal, joins the search, his usual jovial demeanor replaced by a grim determination. The search party spreads out, their worried calls echoing through the twilight, their hearts heavy with a terrifying premonition. Meanwhile, Nate, shattered and alone, stumbles back to the farm, his mind a whirlwind of fear, guilt, and the horrifying image of his mother being dragged into the impenetrable depths of the forest. He knows he is now a pawn in a deadly game, caught between a rock and a hard place. The choice is stark: betray his mother and protect his secret, or expose the truth and risk not only his own life but hers as well. The episode culminates in a heart-stopping cliffhanger. As Cain and Sam penetrate deeper into the forest, guided by a faint, almost imperceptible trail of disturbed earth, they stumble upon the makeshift camp. It's been meticulously cleared, leaving almost no trace. But Cain, with his keen hunter's eye, spots at a single, discarded button, torn from Moira's jacket, partially buried in the damp earth. His face, usually a mask of stoicism, contorts with a raw, guttural cry of anguish. He knows. He knows Moira was here. And he knows something terrible has happened. The final shot is a chilling zoom out, revealing the vast, silent expanse of the forest, now shrouded in the deepening gloom of night. The village of Emmerdale, a cluster of twinkling lights in the distance, seems idyllic, unaware of the terrifying secret it now harbors. The sense of dread is palpable, the stage set for a relentless, heart-pounding struggle against an unseen enemy, a battle for survival that will test the very limits of loyalty, love, and courage. The questions burn like embers in the encroaching darkness. Who are these mysterious men? What is their true objective? What dangerous power have they unearthed? And will Moira, beloved wife, mother, and fiercely independent spirit, ever return to the loving embrace of her family, or has she been consumed by the malevolent forces now lurking within the ancient woods of Emmerdale? The answers, dear viewers, await in the terrifying dawn of September 30th, promising an episode that will leave you breathless, questioning, and desperately craving more. This is not just drama, it is a primal scream, a terrifying descent into the unknown, and Emmerdale will never be the same again. The air thrummed with a terrifying new frequency, a silent scream resonating through the ancient trees. Cain Dingle, clutching Moira's mud-stained button like a sacred relic, roared into the night, a primal sound of a man confronting the unthinkable. His brothers, Sam and Zach, and a handful of other villagers who had joined the desperate search, converged on the desolate clearing. Their torches, flickering nervously, cast monstrous shadows that danced with their burgeoning fears. The air, already heavy with foreboding, now seemed to crackle with an unspoken terror. Moira! Moira! Cain's voice, raw and ragged, tore through the darkness, but only the mournful echo of the forest answered. He dropped to his knees, frantically sifting through the damp earth, his hands digging into the cold soil as if he could unearth her from the very ground. Sam, his usually cheerful face contorted with a silent anguish, knelt beside him, picking up stray leaves and twigs, as if hoping to find another clue, another fragment of the woman they loved. Suddenly, Zach, his voice choked with horror, pointed a trembling finger. Cain! Look! What in God's name is that? All eyes snapped to the spot. There, half buried beneath a thin layer of freshly disturbed earth, was not a simple piece of equipment, but a grotesque, almost organic-looking metallic casing. It pulsed faintly, a sickly green luminescence radiating from within, almost imperceptible, yet undeniably present. It hummed with a low, unnerving frequency that seemed to vibrate in their very bones, an alien sound that sent shivers down their spines. The ground around it felt strangely warm to the touch, and a faint, acrid smell, like ozone and something indescribably metallic, hung in the air. Cain, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs, cautiously reached out, but Sam, with a terrified gasp, pulled him back. Don't, Cain. It feels wrong. Like it's alive. Just then, a flash of movement in the deeper shadows of the woods caught their attention. A figure, silhouetted against the faint moonlight, stood watching them, utterly still. It was too far to discern features, but the sheer malevolence emanating from it was palpable, a chilling wave that washed over the search party. It lingered for a terrifying beat, a silent warning, then vanished as swiftly and silently as it had appeared, leaving behind only an intensified sense of dread. Back at Holdgate Farm, Nate was a man unraveling. The sight of Moira being dragged away, the scarred man's chilling promise, had fractured his composure. He paced the kitchen like a caged animal, his mind a maelstrom of fear, guilt, and the horrifying truth of his involvement. He knew he had to tell someone, but the words were lodged in his throat, suffocating him. The image of the tranquilizer gun, the cold, calculating eyes of the men, replayed endlessly in his mind, a terrifying loop of his own complicity. Just as he was about to crack, a loud, insistent knocking rattled the farmhouse door. Nate froze, his blood running cold. His first thought was the mysterious men, returning to enforce their chilling threat. His hand instinctively reached for the closest heavy object. He cautiously opened the door, a sliver of light illuminating the grim faces of Tracy Robinson and Vanessa Woodfield. Their expressions were a mixture of concern and growing suspicion. "Nate, where's Moira?" Tracy's voice was tight with worry. "Kane's gone looking for her. He said her phone was here. Have you seen her?" Nate's mind raced, a frantic scramble for a coherent lie. He remembered the scarred man's warning, the image of Moira's lifeless body flashing before his eyes if he spoke. I don't know," he stammered, his voice betraying his terror. She went out for a walk. Early. Said she needed to clear her head." Vanessa, always perceptive, noticed the subtle tremor in his hands, the darting movement of his eyes. "A walk? Nate, it's almost dark. And she left her phone? That's not like Moira." Her eyes narrowed, piercing through his flimsy facade. "You're lying, Nate. What's going on?" The pressure mounted, a crushing weight on Nate's shoulders. He opened his mouth, the truth bubbling to his lips, a desperate plea for help. But before he could utter a word, a sudden, piercing shriek split the evening air, a sound so utterly inhuman, so filled with agony and terror, that it ripped through the fragile calm of the village. It wasn't an animal's cry, it was a woman's. And it came from the direction of the forest. Tracy and Vanessa gasped, their faces paling. "What was that?" Tracy whispered, her voice trembling. Nate's blood ran cold. He knew that scream. He had heard it before, in his nightmares, from the depths of the prison where he had witnessed unspeakable horrors. It was the sound of true terror, of someone being pushed beyond the brink of human endurance. And a horrifying certainty solidified in his mind: it was Moira. Meanwhile, a new, sinister development was unfolding, far from the frantic search in the woods. At the local shop, April Windsor, her heart a lead weight in her chest, completed her drop foray. The package, heavier and more potent than before, felt like a ticking bomb in her backpack. She felt the eyes of the shopkeeper, Nicola King, on her, a casual glance that, to April's guilt-ridden mind, felt like an accusation. As she stepped out, relief washing over her for a fleeting moment, a sleek, black car, previously unnoticed, pulled up to the curb. The tinted window slid down, revealing not Ray, but another man. He was impeccably dressed, a sharp contrast to Ray's rough-hewn appearance, with cold, calculating eyes that seemed to bore into her very soul. He exuded an aura of quiet authority, a silent menace far more terrifying than Ray's overt threats. "April Windsor, I presume?" His voice was smooth, cultured, yet laced with an icy edge that made her stomach clench. "My employer, Ray, has informed me of your assistance. He's very pleased." He held up a small, elegant box, a token of our appreciation. "And a new assignment." April's blood ran cold. "New assignment?" Ray said that was the last one. "He said my debt was almost paid." The man merely smiled, a chilling, humorless baring of teeth. "Ray is a low-level operative. He understands very little of the bigger picture. Your debt, my dear, is far from paid. In fact, it has only just begun." He opened the box, revealing a gleaming, metallic device, intricately designed, unlike anything April had ever seen. It hummed with the same faint, sickly green luminescence as the object Kane found in the woods, only stronger, more focused. "This," he explained, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, "is a microfrequency disruptor. It needs to be planted. Tonight. In a very specific location." He then showed her a discreet, almost invisible map on a small, encrypted tablet. April's eyes widened in horror. The target location was not a remote warehouse, not a bustling city street. It was the Emmerdale Village Hall. A place of community, of celebrations, of innocent gatherings. No, April gasped, stepping back, her face draining of color. I can't. What is that thing? What does it do? The man's smile vanished, replaced by a steely glare. It is not for you to ask questions, girl. It is for you to obey. Fail, and your mother, Rona, will bear the consequences. We know her movements. We know where she works. We know where she lives. And we are very persuasive. He nodded towards a larger, menacing figure now visible in the back seat of the car, a hulking brute whose silent presence was a threat in itself. Consider this your initiation into a world far grander, and far more dangerous, than anything Ray could ever comprehend. He pressed the device into her trembling hand, its eerie glow pulsing against her palm. Tonight, April. The village hall. And remember, no one, absolutely no one, must know. The window slid up, and the black car glided away, leaving April alone, shivering, clutching the device like a viper, her innocent world shattered into a million irreparable pieces. She was no longer just a delivery girl, she was now an unwitting accomplice in a terrifying, unseen war, with her mother's life hanging in the balance. The episode reaches its horrifying climax at the Dingle farm. Kane, Sam, and the search party return, their faces grim, their shoulders slumped in defeat. The silence that greets them is heavier than any words. Nate, still reeling from Moira's scream, his face etched with unspeakable torment, watches them, his guilt a suffocating shroud. Just as Kane is about to unleash his fury on Nate for his evasiveness, a blinding flash of light erupts from the distant woods, followed by a deafening roar that shakes the very foundations of the farm. It is not an explosion, but something far more primal, more ancient, a sound that seems to tear at the fabric of reality itself. The sky, momentarily, seems to ripple, distorting the stars, as if a tear has appeared in the very canvas of the night. Then, as quickly as it began, it is over, leaving behind an eerie, unsettling silence, broken only by the whimpering of frightened animals and the ragged breathing of the villagers. Kane, his eyes wide with a terror he rarely showed, slowly turns to Nate. What was that, Nate? What have you gotten us into? His voice is a low, dangerous growl, laced with a chilling certainty. Nate, his face pale as death, finally breaks. The weight of his secret, the horror of what he has witnessed, the agonizing knowledge of Moira's fate, all spill out in a torrent of desperate, fragmented words. He confesses everything, his debt, his work for Ray, the mysterious men, the strange equipment, the sickening green glow, and Moira's terrifying discovery. His voice rises to a desperate plea. They took her, Kane. They took her. And they're going to kill her if I say anything. They said they'd make me watch. The revelation hits the Dingle family like a physical blow. Kane's eyes, usually ablaze with fury, now burn with a cold, terrifying resolve. He doesn't scream, he doesn't rage. Instead, a terrifying calmness descends upon him, the chilling quiet before a storm of unimaginable violence. Who are they, Nate? Kane asks, his voice barely a whisper, yet infused with an iron will that promises a reckoning. Tell me everything. Every last detail. Because I swear to God, if a single hair on Moira's head is harmed, I will bring down hellfire on every single one of them. And I will start with you. His hand, a brutal vice, grips Nate's shoulder, a silent promise of the brutal justice that awaits if Moira is not returned. The episode ends with a final, chilling shot, a close-up of the micro-frequency disruptor in April's trembling hand, its green light pulsing malevolently, a silent countdown to a catastrophe that could plunge Emmerdale into a darkness from which it may never recover. The truth is out, but the battle has only just begun. The village is now a battleground, caught in the crosshairs of an unseen war, its fate hanging by the thinnest of threads. And as the eerie green glow radiates from April's palm, the audience is left with a horrifying, gut-wrenching question. What terrible secret has Emmerdale unwittingly harbored, and what unimaginable price will its inhabitants pay for its uncovering? The next day, September 30th, will not merely be an episode, it will be a descent into a nightmare, a shocking revelation that will change the very definition of drama in the village, forever.